the idea that they could be potentially changing course on this is, I would say, kind of promising. It's half full. I would say that we could very well see this happening. What are you thinking about it?
I think that it needs to happen. We kind of talked about it earlier, or not earlier, but like earlier on in the podcast, earlier on in the year, how look, these are pro athletes. These are guys that are racing in high intensity environments. You don't want to restrict them and make them feel like they can't be themselves or they can't express their true emotions, their true expressions, right? And you also don't want drivers walking around on their tippy toes trying to not curse and not like it's kind of crazy. Like, not to cross reference, but the NFL doesn't, like, other than if you're cussing at like press conferences and stuff like that, like, yeah, that's one thing, but be cursing on the radio calls and all those different things, like, yeah, like that high intensity, you're driving upwards of 200 plus miles an hour, like,
which so far, by the way, everything seems to have been pretty discretionary.
Right.
I think contextually speaking,
we haven't heard of anything.
Nobody's actually had this penalty enforced, at least in Formula One, but the World Rallying Championships have actually seen a couple of these handed down, enough so that the entire sport, if I'm not mistaken, took a big stand against doing press until these rules were reconsidered or changed, or they came to some level of agreement with their stewardship. And I'm not entirely versed on this. If you know more about it, TLPs, feel free to please just drop it down in the comments below. Give us some more information. Educate us. But I know there was a big hubbub about it in the World Rallying Championships. A lot of the drivers in Formula One, already the likes of a Max Verstappen, don't feel like they can already speak their minds anyway.
Right.
There are already limitations when it comes to, handling sponsors, stuff like that, trying to be semi-political with how you say things. But on top of that, when asked for their genuine criticisms, they don't feel like they can express themselves fluently or fully, excuse me. And honestly, I do think this is kind of a half full statement to be releasing in the slightest. I think it's trying to gain favor. If you're Mohammed Ben Sulayem, saying you're thinking about doing something instead of just doing it, becoming more lenient on this, actually seeing effective change. It feels like he's kind of farming for some level of popularity, for some levels of goodwill that realistically aren't actually there. It's like me saying, I don't know, hey Kevin, I'm really thinking about giving you $500.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, but I'm just thinking about it.
Oh. So when are you going to make a decision?
I'm just thinking about it.
Oh. So when are you going to make a decision?
I'm just thinking about it. It builds up this level of desire, but you're not actually doing it. You know what I mean? It's like gaslighting.
Don't tease. Well, that's exactly what it is. Don't tease the fans. Don't tease the drivers and the sport as a whole. Like, hey, like, we know that y'all been pretty outspoken about this, and you know what? After further consideration, maybe we were a little hard, but maybe we weren't. So we'll still think on it. Like, they need to make a decision. And Formula One's a sport where they make decisions pretty quick and they kind of make them effective immediately, which, well, like, this is something that somebody like him, he could just be like, hey, like, this is, we're going to be a little bit more lenient on this situation. And then it's going to be, hey, that's in writing and done. Boom.
Look, because members of the media, generously speaking, like ourselves, we want those moments, we want those nuggets, and we want those sound bites really from the drivers. Heat of the moment. The media is doing a pretty good job. F1 TV, Sky Sports, they're doing a pretty solid job of, censoring the cuss words on live broadcast already.
But that's why
there is a prior review there before they even broadcast these things. But, there are obviously going to be some gray areas where these levels of enforcement could come down from the powers that be.
But that's why we watch, we go in there and we watch Drive to Survive and we watch all these different documentaries, is because we want to see the behind the scenes. We want to see the cursing. We want to see the intense
we want those emotions. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want. So don't take it away.
Yeah, 100%. I think that all these guys and all these drivers and all these members of team personnel understand discretion, but at the same time, as fans, we don't need the sport to parent, right? We don't need them to babysit. We don't need them to handhold. At the end of the day, it's a decision to watch this and to enjoy this, and everything is still discretionary. These are professionals at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
And the judgment calls are being made appropriately so far. Thankfully, there haven't been any actual infractions so far. However, there is going to be room for these things to either be enforced heavily, or if you back off on them now, don't even make that a possibility to affect this championship, I think it would just be for the betterment of the sport. Overall, it would lead to a much more loose, candid experience. We would get a little bit more from the drivers that are already pretty reserved, for being completely honest. And to kind of start wrapping on this, I think there is a motive behind this announcement. I think there's a little bit of a political motivation behind this, because Sulayem is not a very popular figure among racing fans, at least that I know of. If you're a fan of Mohammed bin Sulayem, I mean, feel free to tell me that I'm wrong. But he is up for re-election as the FIA president this December amid a number of resignations and departures from within the FIA. There's been a lot of speculation that the leadership have been leaving because of him, because of the way that he is leading the organization, because of the way that Sulayem, does his job, and a lot of discomfort within the powers that be. So it sounds like there are some murmurs that there could be some other people potentially being nominated to take that position later on this year. There's been a rumor that maybe Susie Wolf, who leads the F1 Academy, may be nominated to take that position. But so far, he doesn't have any challengers, maybe trying to win back some goodwill. But at the end of the day, it's half full, and I'm really just not a big fan of it.